The day everything broke. Before I begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Alright. My name is Daniela Adeyemi, and this is the story of the day my father chose a stranger over his own children. A day I will never forget. A day that changed everything. And just so you understand how serious this is, let me take you back to the exact moment it happened. Because I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to stand where I stood. I want you to see what I saw. The moment everything fell apart. I am standing in our living room. The house is quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that tells you something terrible is about to happen. My younger sister, Tola, is beside me. Her hands are shaking. Her eyes are red from crying. We didn't plan to cry today. But sometimes life does not give you time to prepare. Standing in front of us is our father. The man who taught me how to ride a bicycle. The man who used to carry Tola on his shoulders. The man who would drive us around Lagos on Saturdays just to buy suya and ice cream. But the man standing there is not the father we know. His eyes are cold. His jaw is tight. He looks angry and scared at the same time. And beside him, holding his left hand, is a woman we have never seen before. She is tall. She has long braids that reach her waist. Her nails are bright red. Her perfume fills the whole house with a smell that does not belong here. She stands close to him like she has been part of our family for years. But she is a complete stranger. I look at my father and whisper, "Daddy, who is this woman?" He does not answer. He only holds her hand tighter. My sister steps forward, her voice shaking. "Daddy, why is she here?" This time, he speaks. But his words are like a knife. "From today, this woman comes first in this house." I blink. I'm sure I didn't hear him well. "Daddy, what do you mean?" He lifts his chin, refusing to look away. "I said she comes first. And if you cannot accept that, both of you can leave my house." My mouth becomes dry. My chest feels heavy. My sister grabs my hand like she is holding on to the last hope she has. This is the same father who cried the day our mother died. The same father who told us, "My children will always come first." Now he is telling us to leave. For a woman we do not know. I stare at him, searching his eyes for the man I used to love. But all I see is fear. Fear and something else. Something dark. Something I cannot understand. Then the woman leans close to him and whispers something. I cannot hear it. But whatever she says makes him nod immediately. He chooses her. Right there. In that moment. He chooses a stranger over his own children. Something breaks inside me. Something heavy, something important. Something I cannot put into words. Because that was the moment I realized. Our father was gone. Not dead. Not missing. But gone. Lost in a place we could not reach. And the worst part. He didn't even look sorry. My sister burst into tears. I pull her close to calm her. But I am shaking too. My father's voice is sharp. Enough crying. I will not repeat myself. Respect her, or pack your things. Just like that. Like we mean nothing. Like the memories we shared never happened. Like we are outsiders in our own home. The stranger tilts her head and gives a small smile. Not a friendly smile. A victory smile. A smile that tells me she knew exactly what she was doing. And then, she sits in my mother's chair. The chair my dad kept empty for 5 years after her death. The chair no one in this house is allowed to touch. The moment she sits, I feel my heart drop into my stomach. My father says nothing. He does not stop her. He just watches. Like it is normal. Like it is okay. Like our mother never existed. I feel anger rising inside me. Hot. Sharp. Confusing. My voice shakes as I say, "Daddy, please. Can we talk about this?" He raises his hand and cuts me off. "You are old enough to understand. I owe you no explanation." He turns his back to us. Conversation over. Decision made. Life changed forever. I hold my sister tighter as she cries into my shirt. Because that was the day our father stopped being our father. The silence after the fight. You would think that after such a big moment, someone would speak. But no. The room is silent. Too silent. The only sound is my sister's soft crying. The stranger crosses her legs and takes out her phone. She starts tapping on it like she is already the owner of this house. My father sits beside her, beside the place where my mother used to sit, and rests his arm around her shoulders. I feel sick. Like the room is spinning. Like I am drowning in a pool of memories. I whisper to myself, "This cannot be real." But it is. And then the woman says the words that make my blood freeze. "We need to change some things in this house." I look at her sharply. My sister looks at me. We both know something terrible is coming. My father nods and says, "Yes, anything you want. Anything. Anything. For a stranger." I stare at him, but he keeps his eyes on her. I feel something inside me harden. A wall. A shield. A decision. Because that was the moment I realized. I am not safe in my own home anymore. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not in any way. And the woman. She looks like someone who came prepared. Prepared to push us out. Prepared to replace us. Prepared to destroy everything. But of course, at that moment, I did not know how far she was willing to go. The aftermath, the cracks in the wall. After the scene in the living room, my sister and I go to my room. We sit on my bed, staring at the wall. She is crying quietly. I am angry quietly. Two different reactions. Same pain. She whispers, "Daniel, what do we do now?" I don't know. For the first time in my life. I don't know how to protect her. I don't know how to protect myself. All I know is that something is very wrong. My father is not acting like himself. This woman did not come here by accident. And the fact that he chose her so quickly means she has more power over him than we understand. But how? Why? What did she do? I look at my sister and say, "We wait. We watch. We don't react until we understand what is happening." Because deep inside me, something tells me this is only the beginning. And I am right. Later that evening, I hear them talking in the living room. And the stranger says, "They won't be here for long. Just trust me." My father replies, "I just want peace." Peace. He thinks this is peace. I feel my fist clench. I want to storm into the room. I want to shout. I want to ask questions. I want to fight. But I don't. Because something tells me the war has just started. And if I react too fast, we lose. So I sit quietly. Watching. Listening. Waiting. Because whatever this woman wants, it is big. And my father, he is not strong enough to stop her. The night before the revelation. Later that night, when the house becomes calm again, I lie awake on my bed. My room, the same one I grew up in, suddenly feels smaller. It feels like the walls are closing in. Like everything familiar is turning into something dangerous. I hear the stranger laughing downstairs. Her laughter does not sound joyful. It sounds controlling. Like she already won. Every time she laughs, my father laughs too. A laugh I have not heard in years. A laugh I never expected him to share with someone else. The laughter echoes through the house like a warning. And in that moment, I make a promise to myself. A promise that shapes the rest of this story. I will find out who this woman is. And why she is here. Because people do not enter your home and take over in one day. Unless there is a plan. A very big plan. And whatever her plan is, my father is right in the middle of it. The next morning, the real fear begins. I wake up early the next morning with a heavy heart. My sister wakes up too. Neither of us slept well. We go downstairs quietly, hoping to talk to our father before the woman wakes up. But he is not there. Instead, we see something that makes my stomach twist. My mother's picture, her favorite framed photo, has been moved from the center table to a corner. A dusty corner. The kind of corner you put things you want to forget. My sister gasped softly. No, no. Daniel, she moved Mommy's picture. I kneel down and gently pick it up. It is the picture of the four of us. Before everything fell apart. Before death visited our home. Before strangers walked into our lives. I stand up slowly, my hands trembling. My voice is low. But full of fire. She touched the wrong thing, I whisper. She touched Mommy. This is war. Underscore 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 underscore. White medium start the final blow of chapter 1. Just as I put the frame back where it belongs, I hear footsteps on the staircase. The woman appears. She is wearing my mother's house slippers. My mother's slippers. Slippers my father kept in her room since the day she died. Slippers no one touches. Slippers that still smell like her perfume. It feels like someone punches the air out of my lungs. She walks past us like we are invisible and says, "From today, things will be different around here." She pours herself tea like she owns the kitchen. She sits in my mother's chair again. She flips through her phone. And then she says something that freezes every bone in my body. "Your father and I have some announcements to make." Announcements? About what? Why now? My sister looks at me with fear in her eyes. I feel the fear too. But I hide it. Because in that moment, I know one thing for sure. Whatever announcement she wants to make is the beginning of something darker. Something dangerous. Something that will tear our family apart. And I am not ready. But I have no choice. Because this is the day my father chose a stranger over his own children. And this is only the beginning of a storm that none of us saw coming. Who I was before the storm. Before I continue the story, I want you to understand something important. People don't break all at once. Families don't fall apart in a single moment. Even storms don't start with thunder, they start with a quiet wind you don't notice at first. Before that woman entered our home, before my father changed, before my life flipped upside down, there was a time everything felt normal. There was a time I believed my family was safe. This chapter isn't about pain, it's about who we were before the chaos, so you can understand how big the fall really was. But don't relax. Because even in this chapter, disturbing signs were already growing around us. They were small signs. Quiet signs. Danger we didn't notice. Not until it was too late. My name is Daniel. And this is who I used to be. My name is Daniel Adeyemi, first son of the Adeyemi family. 23 years old. Final year student. Living in Surulere, Lagos. People who know me call me calm. Some call me quiet. Most call me irresponsible. But the truth? I was just trying to survive life one day at a time. My mother died when I was 18. Cancer. One of the slow ones. She fought. And fought. And fought. Until her body could not take it anymore. The day she died, I promised myself that I would always protect my sister, Tola, no matter what. And for years, I did. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. We were in the middle. A small family trying to stay together. My father, Mr. Adeyemi, worked for the civil service. He was strict. He believed in discipline. But he also believed in taking care of his own. That was the father I knew. The father who made us breakfast every Sunday after church. The father who kept my mother's room untouched for years because he couldn't bear to move anything. The father who would hug my sister tightly whenever she missed our mother. The father who promised to never replace our mom. The father we loved. But I didn't know something back then. I didn't know that even the strongest man can crumble if the wrong person enters his life. And that wrong person was already on her way. My sister, Tola, the peacekeeper. If I am the quiet one, Tola is the gentle one. She is 17. Soft-spoken. Always smiling. She can make friends with anybody. But she also feels pain very deeply. She remembers everything our mother ever told us. Every lesson, every prayer, every warning. Especially this one. Not everyone who smiles at your family wants good for your family. Tola lived by that. And the moment she saw the stranger in our house, she felt something in her heart break. She told me once, "Daniel, I don't feel safe. Something bad is coming." But this was long before that woman stepped into the house. This was when the changes started quietly. Changes we didn't understand. The first time I saw my father change. My father was a routine man. Whenever he broke his routine, you knew something was wrong. He always came home by 5:30 p.m. Always. Every day. But then one evening, he didn't come home at 5:30. He didn't come at 6:30. Or 7 o'clock. Or 8 o'clock. He walked in at 9:45 p.m. Smiling. Smiling. My father did not smile at night. He was always too tired. But that night, he entered with a grin so big you would think he won a lottery. And he smelled like new perfume. Something sweet. Something feminine. Tola and I exchanged looks. "Daddy, are you okay?" she asked. He said, "I'm fine. Very fine." Then he went straight to his room. No explanation. No questions. Nothing. That was the first sign. The second sign happened 2 days later. White medium star. The second sign, the phone call. I was in the kitchen washing plates when my father's phone rang. He was in the sitting room. Normally, he answers calls loudly. He speaks clearly. He doesn't hide anything. But this call. He whispered. He whispered so low I almost didn't recognize his voice. I walked closer, pretending to sweep. That's when I heard him say, "I told you I'll talk to them. Just give me time." Talk to us? About what? Tola came downstairs and whispered, "Daniel, Daddy is hiding something." I didn't want to believe it. He had been a loyal husband for years before our mother died. He was a loyal father. But he ended the call quickly and locked his phone. My father never locked his phone. That was the second sign. The third sign came the next weekend. The third sign, the clothes. One Saturday afternoon, Tola and I were watching TV when my father suddenly appeared from his room wearing a new shirt. A bright red one. With gold buttons. My father is not a red shirt person. He wears navy blue, black, gray. Simple, quiet colors. Tola looked at him and whispered. Mommy would laugh at that shirt. He ignored us and walked toward the door with confidence. Daddy, where are you going? I asked. He smiled and said. Just stepping out. To where? Somewhere important. That answer bothered me. Somewhere important. He had never said that before. He left without telling us when he would return. And that evening, when he came back, he was holding something. A gift bag. A women's gift bag. We asked him what it was. He said nothing. He just walked past us like we weren't there. That was when I knew something was changing inside him. Someone new had entered his life. We just didn't know who. Not yet. Our family before the storm. I want you to understand something. My father wasn't always like this. Before all this began, we were a normal family. We ate dinner together. We prayed together. We laughed sometimes. We cried sometimes. We survived life together. There were days we would sit outside and talk about the future. My father would tell me, after school, start your own business. Don't work for anybody forever. He would tell Tola, you will be a great woman. I want to see you shine. We were not perfect. But we were united. And we loved each other. In the simple way families love each other. I knew he missed my mother. I missed her too. Sometimes I would hear him on the balcony at night, talking quietly. Maybe to himself. Maybe to her spirit. I don't know. He loved her deeply. Everyone knew that. And that's why what happened next hurt even more. Because the first time I saw him laugh after my mother died, it wasn't with me. It wasn't with Tola. It wasn't with family. It was with her. The stranger. The night everything shifted. One night, about 3 weeks before she entered our home, I heard my father laughing. Laughing loudly. It was the kind of laugh you hear from someone who is in love. Or someone who is being controlled. I walked to the living room and found him on the phone. He was smiling like a teenager. He kept running his hand across his head, shy and excited at the same time. I had never seen him like that. Not even when my mother was alive. When he saw me, he quickly ended the call. But he could not hide the smile. Daddy, who was that? I asked. He cleared his throat. No one. Go to bed. Tola heard too, I said. She's worried. He snapped. There is nothing to worry about. Must you know every detail of my life? That shocked me. My father never spoke like that. It was like another person was living inside him. Someone who had something to hide. Something big. Something dangerous. I walked away that night with a heavy heart. Because the father I knew was slipping away. Slowly. And this mysterious woman was pulling him into a world we didn't understand. The final sign, the warning from a family friend. 2 days before the stranger stepped into our home, something strange happened. My father's close friend, Uncle Connor, came to visit us. He sat me down and said something I still think about. Daniel, keep an eye on your father. I frowned. What do you mean? He sighed deeply. There's someone around him. Someone new. Someone who doesn't have good intentions. My chest tightened. Who is she? I can't say much yet. But be careful. Things are not as they look. I felt a cold fear inside me. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about healing. This wasn't about moving on. This was about danger. Real danger. And for the first time, I felt scared. Not for myself. But for my father. He was changing in ways I didn't recognize. Ways I didn't understand. And whoever this woman was, she wasn't just a stranger. She was someone with a plan. Underscore 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 underscore. White medium star. The day before the woman arrived. That Sunday morning, my father woke up earlier than usual. He cleaned the living room. He arranged the pillows. He sprayed air freshener everywhere. He wore his best shirt. He even styled his hair. I had never seen him try this hard before. Tola whispered. Who is coming? Why is he behaving like this? I didn't know. Until later that afternoon. When I heard him speaking on the phone. Yes. I'm ready. They will accept you. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. My heart sank. Because this wasn't just about a woman visiting. This was about someone entering our lives permanently. Someone my father was preparing for. Someone he believed we would accept. But he didn't know that the moment she stepped into our home, our entire world would collapse. The last normal moment. I remember the last peaceful moment before the storm hit. My sister and I sitting on the couch. Eating rice and stew. Watching a comedy show. Laughing at something silly. My father was upstairs preparing for something. We didn't know what. We didn't know who. Life still felt normal. We still felt like a family. And then, knock knock. The doorbell rang. My father ran down the stairs like a man chasing happiness. He didn't even look at us. He just opened the door. And that was the moment the stranger walked into our lives. The moment her braids swung into our living room. The moment her perfume replaced the smell of home. The moment her smile chased the peace away. The moment everything changed. And that moment, that exact moment, was the beginning of the day my father chose a stranger over his own children. The first sign of danger. Before I continue, where are you watching from today? Short pause, then the narration continues. Alright. Let me take you deeper into the moment when we first realized. This stranger didn't enter our home by accident. Something dangerous was already growing in the shadows. This chapter is the beginning of the unraveling. It's the chapter where the warning bells started ringing. And we didn't even know how loud they were until everything exploded. Sit back. Because things are about to get heavy. The morning after, the house was not the same. The morning after the stranger sat in my mother's chair, everything felt different. The air was different. The light entering the windows felt different. Even the sound of footsteps in the hallway felt wrong. I woke up early, hoping the previous day was a dream. Hoping the stranger would be gone. Hoping my father would be himself again. When I came downstairs, the first thing I noticed was the smell. It wasn't the smell of bread or tea like we normally woke up to. It wasn't the fresh scent of my mother's air freshener that my father used every morning for years. No. It was a new smell. Strong. Sweet. Artificial. The stranger's perfume had settled into the cushions, the curtains, the walls. It felt like she was everywhere. Like she had already taken over. And then I heard it. Her voice. Laughing softly in the living room. Tola was standing at the foot of the stairs, frozen. She whispered. Daniel, is she still here? Yes, I said quietly. And she's not planning to leave. My sister sighed and leaned on me for support. Her small, tired voice asked. What do we do now? At that moment, I didn't have an answer. I only knew one thing. The storm wasn't coming. The storm was already inside our house. The stranger tells us the new rules. We walked into the living room slowly, like we were entering enemy territory. The stranger was sitting on the couch. The couch my mother used to sit on every night. She had her legs crossed, her phone in her hand, and a cup of tea beside her. My father stood behind her, almost like a bodyguard. She looked at us and smiled. A cold smile. A smile that said, "You can't stop what is coming." "Good morning," she said, in a voice so sweet it felt fake. We didn't answer. She took a long breath and said, "There will be some changes in this house." Changes. This stranger walked into our home yesterday and already wanted to change everything. I felt anger boiling inside me. But I held it. Because reacting emotionally in front of this woman would be exactly what she wanted. "What kind of changes?" I asked. She placed her phone on the table and spoke slowly, like she was the new owner of the house. "Number 1, I will be staying here permanently." Tola gasped. My father said nothing. "Nothing." She continued. "Number 2, there are parts of the house I don't want disturbed." She was talking about our house. Our mother's house. I clenched my fist. "And number 3, she added, smiling wider. "Your father and I will handle all decisions from now on." All decisions. About what? Our lives. Our home. Our future. My father nodded beside her as if everything she said was wise. I looked at him, searching for the father I knew. He avoided my eyes. That avoidance hurt more than the stranger's words. She ended with, "I hope you two can behave yourselves as we move forward." Behave ourselves. In our own home. I felt something inside me snap. But before I could speak, my father said, "Daniel. Enough. You heard her." He spoke to me like I was the outsider. Like I was the problem. Like he had forgotten who I was. That moment was the beginning of the true danger. Because the stranger had found a way to control him. I didn't know how. But I knew one thing. This woman had power over my father. And she planned to use it. The whisper I wasn't supposed to hear. Later that afternoon, I walked past the kitchen and heard the stranger talking on the phone. Her voice was low but sharp. "Yes. I'm in the house now," she said. "I told you he believes everything I say." I froze. She continued. "Don't worry. It's only a matter of time. The children won't be a problem." My blood went cold. The children won't be a problem. Was she talking about me and my sister? I moved closer quietly. Yes, he already defended me in front of them. I told you, he's weak when he thinks he's in love. Weak. My father. I took a step closer, my heart pounding. She whispered. "Just wait. Soon, everything will be in order. Just as we planned." My breath caught in my throat. A plan. For what? For my father. For our home. For our lives. I didn't know the details. But I knew one thing. This woman didn't love my father. She was using him for something. Something big. Something dangerous. I stepped away quietly before she saw me. My heart was racing. This was no innocent visit. This was no simple relationship or new friend. This was something else. And whatever it was, we were in the middle of it. Tola finds the first clue. Later that night, Tola entered my room with something in her hand. She looked scared. "Daniel, look what I found." It was a small black notebook. I frowned. "Where did you get this?" It fell out of her bag when she went upstairs. I froze. "You opened it?" "Yes." "Tola." Daniel, she whispered urgently. You need to see what's inside. I hesitated. Then opened the notebook. My eyes widened. Inside were names. Dates. Unknown phone numbers. Short notes written in quick handwriting. Next to my father's name, she wrote. Finally hooked. Easily controlled. Ready for next step. I felt my stomach drop. My father wasn't in love. He was being manipulated. This woman didn't care about him. She cared about the next step. What was the next step? What was she planning? Why was my father so blind to it? Before I could think more, we heard footsteps in the hallway. Tola grabbed the notebook and hid it under my pillow as the footsteps grew louder. The stranger's voice echoed down the hallway. Where are those children? We stayed silent. She passed the door without entering. Tola let out a shaky breath. Daniel, what do we do? I didn't know. But I knew we had to stay alert. This was no ordinary situation. We were living with a stranger who had a plan. And my father, the man we trusted, was already under her control. The phone call that shook the house. The next day, around 8:30 p.m., my father received a phone call. A loud phone call. Unlike before, he didn't hide it. He didn't whisper. He shouted into the phone. What do you mean she's missing? Missing how? Tola and I rushed downstairs. My father's hands were shaking. He was sweating. His face was pale. The stranger walked into the room and grabbed his arm. What happened? She asked. He didn't answer. Then he shouted again into the phone. I told you to keep her safe. Who? Keep who safe? He ended the call and threw his phone onto the couch. The stranger looked at him with fake concern and said, Who is missing? Tell me what's happening. But he shook his head. No. Not now. He walked toward the balcony, breathing fast. The stranger followed him, but he waved her off. Tola looked at me. Daniel, did you hear that? Someone is missing. I nodded slowly. And it clicked. Yesterday, the stranger wrote in her notebook. Everything must be ready before she arrives. She. Not the stranger herself. Someone else. Someone we had not met yet. Someone important to whatever plan this woman was carrying out. And now that she was missing, my father was panicking. This was bigger than I thought. Bigger than just a fake relationship. Bigger than one woman manipulating him. There was someone else involved. Someone my father didn't tell us about. Someone the stranger was working with. My heart beat faster. Because whatever they were hiding, it was something dark. And now, something had gone wrong. The stranger discovers we are watching. That night, after my father went to bed, the stranger stayed in the living room on the phone. I was standing at the top of the stairs listening quietly. Then suddenly, she turned around sharply and stared directly at me. Our eyes locked. She smacked. Oh Daniel. Spying again. My heart jumped. She walked closer, her heels clicking softly. You think you're clever, she whispered. You think I don't see you watching me? I stayed silent. She leaned closer and said, Your father trusts me. More than you. More than your little sister. More than anyone. I clenched my jaw. She smiled wider. And soon, everything in this house, everything you think belongs to you. She touched my chin lightly. Won't be yours anymore. I stepped back. Her voice dropped into a whisper so cold it made my skin crawl. You have no idea what is coming. Then she winked and walked away, leaving me standing there, frozen. She knew. She knew I was watching her. She knew I suspected her. And she wasn't afraid. That confidence meant one thing. She believed she had already won. The final moment of chapter 3, the letter. Around midnight, when the house was quiet, someone knocked softly on my door. It was my father. His eyes were tired. His face looked older. He held a small envelope in his hand. "Daniel," he whispered. "I need you to look after your sister." My heart tightened. "Daddy, what's going on?" He shook his head. "You don't need to know. But just protect her," he said again. Then he slowly pressed the sealed envelope into my hand. "Read this only if something happens to me." And before I could speak, he walked away, leaving me holding an envelope that felt heavier than the whole world. My father was in danger. And now, so were we. The stranger arrives. "Before I begin, tell me, where are you watching from today?" Short pause. "All right. Let's continue." Chapter 4 is the one you have been waiting for. This is the chapter where the stranger doesn't just enter our home. She enters our lives like a storm sent to tear everything apart. You've seen pieces of her shadow. But in this chapter, you see the whole woman. Exactly how she walked into our home, into our father, and into the center of our family drama. Nothing in this chapter is calm. Nothing is slow. Everything happens like lightning. And I want you to feel every moment. Let's go back to the moment the doorbell rang. The doorbell that changed everything. The afternoon sun was bright. The house smelled like rice and stew from lunch. My sister and I were still confused from the strange behavior of our father the day before. And then, ding dong. The doorbell rang once. Clear. Sharp. Unexpected. My father sprinted down the stairs like a teenager preparing for a first date. He didn't even check to see if we were watching. He didn't fix his shirt. He didn't cough politely. He didn't pretend to be calm. He ran. That alone told me something big was coming. Tola and I stood still, watching him with scared eyes. He reached the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. And that was the exact moment she stepped into our lives. The woman in the long braids. She walked in like she owned the ground she stepped on. Her braids swung down her back. Her perfume filled the entire house instantly. Her gold earrings caught the light like small suns. She didn't look around shyly like a visitor. She didn't act polite. She didn't act curious. She walked in with confidence. A confidence that felt wrong for a stranger. My father smiled so hard I barely recognized him. "Welcome," he said softly. She placed her hand on his chest in a slow, gentle movement. And that one action made my stomach turn. She had done this before. Not once. Not twice. Many times. They were not strangers to each other. But we were strangers to her. And the first thing she did shocked me. She looked at us. Not like she was meeting children for the first time. But like she was evaluating two pieces of furniture she didn't like. She smiled. "Hello," she said, her voice sweet but sharp underneath. "So, these must be your children." She didn't say it with kindness. She said it like she expected us to fail some test she already set. My father nodded proudly. "Yes. This is Daniel and Tola." She reached out her hand. I didn't take it. Tola didn't take it. She withdrew her hand slowly and gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Not friendly, I see." My father forced a laugh. "Oh, they're just shy. They'll adjust." Adjust. To what? To who? My father had never spoken like that. And the stranger gave a victorious little nod. "I'm sure they will," she said. That was the moment I knew she came with an agenda. The first shock, she enters my mother's space. My father stepped aside and let her walk fully inside. She didn't ask permission. She didn't look unsure. She didn't hesitate. She went straight to the one place no one had touched in 5 years. My mother's seat. The seat only my mother used. The seat my father kept clean every day. The seat that stayed empty after she died, because no one could replace her. The stranger walked to it. Placed her hand on the armrest. Looked at the cushion. And sat down. My heart almost stopped. She didn't ask. She didn't look at my father. She didn't look at us. She sat like it belonged to her. Like she belonged there. My sister whispered. No, no. Daniel, she can't. That's Mommy's chair. But she didn't care. She crossed her legs and began scrolling through her phone like she had been waiting for this moment. I looked at my father. He said nothing. Nothing. No shock. No reaction. No correction. Just a nervous smile as he stood beside her. That was the moment I realized something heavy. My father wasn't just welcoming her. He was submitting to her. The introduction no one asked for. After a few minutes of silence, she finally looked up from her phone. I assume your father already told you about me. He hadn't told us anything. My father cleared his throat. Well, I plan to explain today. She placed her hand on his knee in a way that made my chest tighten with discomfort. She said, "Let me help you." Then she looked at us and said, "My name is Clara." Clara. The name felt too sharp. Too cold. "I will be spending time here," she continued. "Your father and I, we have a relationship." A relationship. I felt something in my chest crack. Tola looked confused. "A relationship," she whispered. Clara nodded proudly. Like she had won something valuable. But she wasn't done. She added, "And with time, you will learn to treat me with respect." Respect. From us. She had been in the house for 5 minutes. My hands curled into fists. My voice was low but steady. "Why are you here?" My father's head snapped toward me. "Daniel. Don't talk like that." But Clara smiled. "Oh, it's okay," she said softly. "They'll adjust. They just need to understand their place. Our place. Our place." My jaw tightened. Who was this woman? Why was she talking like she owned us? Why was my father allowing this? She stood up slowly. "I came here, because your father wants me here. And because soon, I will be part of this family. Part of this family." Tola took a step back. I felt heat rush to my face. My father said quietly, "Yes. I love her." I couldn't breathe. He had never said he loved anyone after my mother died. Not even once. Tola covered her mouth and began to cry silently. My father didn't go to her. He didn't comfort her. He stood beside Clara. Like she was the one who needed protection. That was the moment my father broke my heart. The announcement that shattered us. Clara sighed dramatically, as if tired of waiting. "So," she said, "I think it's time we tell them." I frowned. "Tell us what?" She smiled like she had been waiting to drop this bomb all day. "Your father and I are moving forward." "Moving forward how?" I asked. She placed her hand on my father's shoulder. "We are going to be married." I felt something slam into my chest. Like all the air left my lungs in 1 second. Married. Married. My father looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Clara continued. "We haven't fixed a date yet. But your father has already agreed." Agreed. He agreed without telling us. Without asking us. Without thinking about us. Tola stumbled backward and sat on the couch, shaking. I stepped forward. Daddy, no. This is too fast. We don't know her. You don't know her. He snapped. I know enough. His voice was sharp, almost angry. Clara smiled calmly. This house will need changes, she said. A wife has responsibilities. A wife. She was calling herself his wife already. I clenched my teeth. Why are you rushing this? I asked her. She looked directly at me. Eyes cold, calculating. Because some things cannot wait. That answer told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't here for love. She was here for something else. Something bigger. Something that required urgency. And my father was drifting deeper under her control. The moment she finally shows her true face. Just when I thought the worst was over. She decided to push further. She looked around the living room and said, there are many things in this house that need to go. My heart dropped. Go where? Tola asked, wiping tears. Thrown out. We need space for new things. Her eyes scanned the room and landed on my mother's photos. The pictures on the wall. The framed photo on the shelf. The picture on the center table. Clara pointed at them casually. These old pictures. They need to be removed. Tola let out a soft cry and held onto my arm. Clara continued. We cannot move forward with all these reminders of the past. The past. She called my mother the past. I felt heat rising in my face. Don't touch anything of my mother's, I said quietly. She tilted her head and smirked. I wasn't asking your permission. My father stepped forward, eyes lowered. Daniel, please. Don't cause problems. 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 I was defending our mother. Clara walked closer to my father, stood behind him, and placed her hands on his shoulders. It's time to let go, she whispered. Of who? Of what? Of us. Of his memory of my mother. Of everything that made us a family. I couldn't speak. I was shaking with anger and disbelief. Tola whispered. Daniel, do something. But I couldn't. Because something else happened at that exact moment. The final shock, she makes a demand. Clara leaned against my father and looked directly at me. I want you and your sister to give us space. We live here, I said slowly. Her smile widened. For now. Tola grabbed my hand tightly. What does that mean? She asked, her voice cracking. Clara answered without hesitation. It means your father and I need privacy. You two will need to spend less time in the house. Less time. In our own home. What are you suggesting? I asked. I'm saying, she replied. That you both should start preparing to live elsewhere. My breath caught. Live elsewhere. Were we being pushed out? My father looked away. He didn't deny it. He didn't defend us. That silence was louder than shouting. That silence broke something inside me. Clara looked proud of herself. This will be better for all of us, she said softly. Better? Better for who? Finally, she delivered the last line of the chapter. Once we are married, I don't want any complications. Complications. That's what she called us. My father didn't say a word. He didn't protect us. He didn't oppose her. He stood there. Silent. As a stranger told his children to start preparing to leave their own home. The first twist and the ending. Full narration, final chapter, 200 words. When I opened the envelope my father had pressed into my hand, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely break the seal. Inside was one sheet of paper. Not fancy. Not long. Just a short note in my father's handwriting and a small key taped to the corner. The note said, Daniel, if something strange happens and I become someone you don't know, read this. Protect Tola. Trust Uncle Connor. I am sorry. Dad. My chest hurt. I read the note again and again. The apology burned like salt. I put the note down and looked at the key. It was small and iron, old-fashioned, like a key to a cabinet or a safe. There was a tiny tag tied to it with a number, A17. I had no idea what A17 meant, but I felt that key suddenly had everything to do with our future. I crept out of my room, holding the letter and the key like a secret weapon. The house felt different, low voices, the clink of cups, the laugh that was not mine. Clara was downstairs, as usual, moving through the rooms like a ship captain inspecting her ship. My father sat beside her. He looked smaller. His face had the color of someone trying to be brave and failing. I walked into the living room and stood in the doorway. He glanced at me, and for a second I saw the father I knew, frightened, tired, confused. Then Clara smiled, and the look slid away from his face. Daniel, she said, perfectly bright, come sit. We were just talking about your future. I held up the paper like a shield. Daddy, what is this? Why did you give me this? He looked away. Clara placed a hand on his arm the way she always did now, as if she was helping him think. I hated that touch. My son, he said softly, I was wrong. You don't need to worry yet. We can all talk later. Talk later. Those words were empty promises now. I had the note. I had the key. I had a sense that time was running out. That night, I lay awake and turned over 1,000 plans in my head. The woman in the notebook had written, everything must be ready before she arrives. The missing woman. The phone call. The whisper, they won't be a problem. The envelope. The key. I decided I could not wait. Find the truth. At dawn, I went to Uncle Connor's house. He was an old friend of my father's, a calm man who had helped us through many hard days. I told him everything quietly. He listened, rubbed his chin, then said 2 things I needed to hear. First, never fight alone. Second, find proof. Proof. Yes. Proof. If I could show what they were doing, if I could show the lies, then maybe my father would wake up. Maybe the police would act. Maybe the community would help. Uncle Connor fetched his old phone and handed it to me. I'll sit with you. We will watch. We will wait for the right moment. We planned for 2 things that day, get evidence, and find out what 817 meant. I went home with a quiet plan. Tola was already awake. Her eyes were puffy, but she looked determined. We exchanged a look, the kind that said, we will not lose this house without a fight. The notebook and the safe. During the afternoon, Clara left the house for a meeting. She had been doing this more and more lately, meetings that lasted hours. She said they were about plans and moving forward. When she left, she took her bag. She always left it in the sitting room. It was large and expensive. I waited until she left and then I moved. I had seen the notebook before, the one Tola found. Names, notes, dates. I pulled it out from under my pillow. One name appeared often, and one sentence repeated, A17, secure. Whatever A17 was, it was important. I remembered where my mother kept old documents, a locked metal cabinet in her small back room. It had an iron lock with a small keyhole. My father always kept a copy of things there, birth certificates, small savings book, a safe box number maybe. I realized all at once, the key taped to my father's note might open that cabinet. A17 could be a safe deposit box number or a code. My pulse raced. I went to the back room and tried the key. The lock clicked. Inside the cabinet was not just old papers. There was a small wooden box, the kind safes keep. The box was labeled with numbers, A16, A17, A18, a stack of small boxes, each with a number. A17 had my initials scribbled faintly on the side. My hands shook as I opened A17. Inside was a folder. In the folder were bank documents. Loans. Names. One page had a heading I will never forget, Transfer of Title, Property, 47 Mosswood Street. Clara's handwriting, clear and official, was on the transfer line. And worse, there was a receipt showing a deposit into an account I didn't know. It had our father's name and a smaller name next to it, S. Ajayi. That was the same name that showed up in Clara's notebook. My stomach dropped. Clara had been moving money and property behind our backs. But that was not all. There was a small folded note. It read, "When A17 is active, move children out. Title transfers to S. Ajayi. Finalize marriage. Keep him calm." Those words punched all the air out of me. She was moving our house into someone's name. She wanted us gone. She had been working on this for months. My blood burned. I had proof. The plan to expose them. I carried the folder to Uncle Connor. We read it together in his chair, and he nodded slowly. "We have to be careful," he said. "If they know we are looking, they will hide things." But he also said, "We can go to the bank. We can talk to people. If this transfer is real, it can be stopped. But we must act now." We planned the steps. 1. Make copies of the documents. 2. Go to the bank first thing in the morning. 3. Find witnesses who could testify to Clara's lies. 4. Confront my father with evidence, in public, with people present. 5. Involve the police only if needed. We set the schedule for early morning. I went home that night with the folder hidden under my bed. For the first time since all this began, I felt like we had a chance. Underscore 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 underscore. The bank and the truth comes out. At 9 a.m., Uncle Connor and I walked into the local bank with our copies of the documents. The clerk tried to be polite, but when I told her the name and the account number, her face changed. She took us to a small office and said, "Someone at that account made a large transfer recently. It matched the transfer to S. Ajayi." We asked for help. We explained the situation. The bank said they could not reverse a transfer without a police order, but they could freeze the account if fraud was suspected. We showed the bank the copy of the transfer and the note that said to move the children out when A17 is active. The bank manager's expression turned hard. "This looks like a fraudulent instruction," she said finally. "We can freeze the account, but we need a report." Uncle Connor made the call. He brought in 2 neighbors, people who had known our family for years, to vouch that my father was not likely to do this on his own. They agreed to make statements. We left the bank with a promise that the account would be investigated. For the first time, there were people on our side. But the hard part remained, my father. Confrontation and the heartbreak. That evening, I went home with the bank manager's card and the copies clutched in my hands. Clara was in the living room, as usual. My father sat beside her in the place my mother used to sit, the place that no one had allowed to be touched for years, and he looked tired. I put the folder on the table. "Daddy," I said. He looked up. The lines in his face were deeper than before. "Please sit down," I said. "We need to talk about something important." Clara smiled like a cat that had eaten a fish. What is this about? I didn't look at her. I looked at the man who raised me. I found this in the cabinet. My father's hand tightened on his knee. I spread the documents on the table. I told him everything, how I found the hashtag 17 box, the transfer papers, Clara's handwriting, the note that said, move the children out, and the bank's willingness to investigate. My father's lips trembled. He stared down at the papers. Daniel, he whispered, then louder, this isn't real. She must have forged. She didn't, I said. Uncle Connell's been to the bank. They will freeze the account. There are neighbors who will speak. We have proof. Clara stood up. Her voice was sharp now. You have no right to go through private papers. My father looked up at her. Clara. She interrupted him. Don't make excuses. You made choices. My father's face crumpled. I thought she was helping. I thought she loved me. I thought I was finally happy. A long pause. His voice broke. I'm sorry. That sorry hit harder than any anger. I wanted to shout. I wanted to say everything that had been sown into the silence of the last weeks, that he had chosen a stranger over his children. But standing there, seeing his hands shake, I felt something else grow, pity. He had been pulled into a web. He had been lonely and scared and desperate. I could have pushed him to the edge. I could have screamed. I could have run next door to fetch the police. Instead, I chose a different path. I picked up my father's hand. You are hurt, I said quietly. You made mistakes. But we can fix this. Please help us stop her. He looked at me like some light had returned. Tola clutched my sleeve. We needed him, not just as a father, but as a witness to the truth. He nodded slowly. Tell me what to do. Standing together. With my father on our side, Clara's power began to fall. We went back to the bank and the manager allowed us to freeze the account pending investigation. The bank also sent a representative to our house to take originals for verification. Neighbors came and gave statements. Uncle Connor spoke to the local community leader who agreed to call a small meeting, a gathering in the compound where people could hear both sides. Clara tried to fight back. She accused us of lying. She said we were trying to ruin a legitimate relationship. But as the copies of her handwriting and the transfer documents circulated, the mood changed. People who respected our family began to whisper. The missing woman, the one who was to arrive, was investigated, and it turned out she was not who Clara claimed. She was someone Clara had used as a name in schemes before. The police opened a file. Her partner, S. Ajayi, had a record of suspicious transactions. The world we had felt powerless in began to help. Healing, not cruelty. Clara was arrested a week later when the police found stronger proof of fraud and an attempt to transfer the house title. She screamed and cursed. She threatened. But the evidence was stronger than her words. The bank froze all movements. The property transfer was stopped. My father was left with the shame of what he had almost given away. He was not arrested, he had been manipulated. The community saw him as a man who had been lonely and made a mistake. Many people forgave him slowly. Others wanted him to pay for letting us live in fear. We sat on the floor of the living room the night she was taken away. Tola cried, but they were different tears. They were tears of release. Not all hurt vanishes quick, but some weight had been lifted. My father stood in front of us, his voice small. I am so sorry, he said. I thought I had found someone who made the pain go away. I was wrong. I lost myself. I lost you. I felt my anger fold into something softer, a deep sadness that had room for reasoning. Daddy, I said, we need each other. We can fix this. But you need to help us. We need the truth. He promised. He went to the police and told everything. He met Uncle Connor and the neighbors. He started attending counseling at a community center to learn how to live with loss without falling into false arms. He started to put back the photographs we loved. He started to talk to Tola again without Clara in the middle. We did not pretend the hurt was gone. It was not. It took months for the house to feel like home again. People who had judged left, and people who loved us stayed. The title stayed in our father's name because the lawyers and the bank stopped the transfer. The police took Clara away, and S. Ajayi was questioned. The missing woman turned out to be a pawn in Clara's plan, used to create fear and hurry. Months later, we had a small gathering in the living room. The mother's photo was back in the center. My father made tea like he used to. We laughed, small and careful, but real. He stepped toward us and touched our hands. I am sorry, he said again, and this time there was work behind the words. He began to rebuild trust by showing up, by being present, by listening, by paying attention to what mattered to us. We rebuilt our lives slowly. I finished school, and Tola started a small tailoring business with help from a neighbor. Uncle Connor watched us like a guardian. The house remained ours, not because we battled with cruelty, but because truth and community stood with honesty. And Clara. She learned that tricks have ends. She was made to answer for what she did. I didn't want her broken life, I wanted my family saved. The law did its job. The last moment, a new day. One morning, almost a year after that terrible day, we sat on the balcony and watched the sun rise over Lagos. My father held a cup of tea and looked out quietly. Tola, he said softly, tell me about school again. Tell me a silly story. I want to hear your voice. She smiled, and the sound was like a small bell. I looked at them both, a father trying, a sister alive with hope, and I felt the heavy weight lift from my chest. I realized something important: people can fall into darkness, but they can also climb out. It takes courage to forgive, and strength to change. We didn't end the story by ruining anyone. We ended it by saving what mattered most, our family. I still keep the small key, A17, in a little box in my drawer. It